What's up? Welcome back to Funcast, episode 7. Today's guest is Jacob DeVecchio, a mushroom educator, mycology cultivation supplier, and all around just great person. Just thanks for coming on the cast today, man. How you doing?
Doing really well, man. It's so good to get to chat with you. It was such a blur, kind of chatting with you over the phone and then seeing you at the festival. And so now we get to really chat, get to know each other and learn more about it. So I'm super excited to be here.
Ah, man, I feel the same way. And it's like when I saw you at the festival, you were also just running around doing everything, doing all the things. So the time I got with you was, you know, quality time.
I appreciate that.
So I want to say, like, thanks for, sending over the shirt.
Yep,
And it's like, honestly, this whole little care package, a couple of shirts.
yep. So that the shirt that you're wearing is actually UV reactive. So if you have a black light and you shine it
Oh,
there, it is super.
what?
The whole backside is full color, and so it looks super sweet if you're in a black light setting. And the other one is the natural kind of antique looking shirt that we got, as well as the mush love
Got a
tote.
sweet little tote.
Yeah.
And a couple other things we're gonna show you guys. But dude, thank you so much. Um, Jacob just offered to ship that for free. So far, what I've been doing, I've been trying to purchase, a little something from each person I get on the podcast, just to show, appreciation, right?
Yeah, and dude, I mean,
I appreciate that a lot, bud.
no, it looks good on you. Rock it. I love that it.
So, man, I got a question for you,
Let's go
and
for it.
just a random question, right? What's your favorite breakfast food?
My favorite breakfast food is gallo pinto, and it is like rice and beans with cilantro, tomatoes, a little bit of onions and garlic. It's like a typical Costa
Dude,
Rican dish. It's pretty common throughout Latin America, but the one I prefer is the Costa Rican gallo pinto, and it's just so good. It's healthy, it's delicious, and I would eat it every single day. Like I actually just ate some for dinner with my wife because we love it so much.
yeah, you know
Yes,
what I mean. I feel like that's awesome. A versatile breakfast. So I guess like you could eat breakfast food. I could eat breakfast food for dinner every day of my life.
for sure.
But to be able to eat it with dinner as well.
Just 3 days ago, my wife and I also made like pancakes, bacon, eggs, and sausage and biscuits and gravy for dinner. So, we switch it up. Sometimes we eat that hearty American, and sometimes we try and get a little international.
I mean, I think that's what it's about, trying the different flavors, right? I think
Yes.
food is amazing, and I think I personally will try any food once as long as it's like properly cooked
Mm,
and no bacteria or anything, so to
for
speak.
sure. No,
What's worse that can happen? It's just
yeah,
that you just don't like it.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, dude. And I guess even in the intro, I forgot to mention. I mean, myco event coordinator, right, dude? The Mushroom Fest, the Myco Fest was ridiculous. This is my little pass from the previous one,
Yep, yep.
and I also purchased these earrings from a vendor at the fest because I thought they
Awesome.
were so sick.
Yeah, it was incredible. We had 65 vendors and 1,767 total attendees. It was absolutely mind-boggling how many people turned up for this event. And especially, I mean, shout out to everyone who came, who's listening, especially to you for coming all the way from Florida, man. I really appreciate you making the effort and drive.
Yeah, man. It was honestly a team effort. With a couple of friends, and we made it happen. But it was the awesome, dude. It was awesome. I couldn't even. It was a really nice experience getting to meet a lot of friends that I've spoken to over the internet for years.
Yeah.
Some of which I've never even seen their faces.
Right? There was people there who There were people there who wanted me to promote that they were going to be there, and some people just said they wanted to show up and see who recognized them. And there were some people there who have never shown their face, who have been commenting and said how much they enjoyed it, and no one even knew that they were there because they've remained anonymous. So it was so cool to see all the different mix, the people who are fully out and open like me and you, and there are people who are still kind of working in that gray area where they don't want to yet be known. It was so awesome to see everyone together and enjoying meeting each other in a positive way.
Yeah, man, and it was cool. I guess being in the position where we can show our faces and more comfortably than others may be able to. Uh, just walking around, I didn't have a booth at that time. I just kind of showed up and was like, "This is
Yeah.
awesome." But the getting recognized by people, and they're like, uh, "Hey, I am so and so," and it's just them by their Instagram handle, and it's like, "What?"
Yeah,
uh,
definitely, man. There's people there who like I only knew them by their Instagram handle. And then it wasn't until I like actually got to shake their hand and like, hey, like it's actually nice to finally meet you. And there's some people who I remember their Instagram handle better than I do their name to this day. So I think it's funny that way.
the same, man. I think it was like it was an all around awesome gathering of all different kinds of people, throughout the mycology community, and educational it's an educational setting, a vending setting, kind of just a maxing, relaxing, hanging out, all around awesome, man. There was a great event. I'm super stoked for
Thank you.
next year,
Yeah. Oh, this year.
this year.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. So it's going to be, I believe it is October 12th and 13th. It's the second weekend of October. I'm going to try and keep it that way. So that way people can sort of rely and know that that is going to be a good time for the OK Mush Fest. So I'm really excited for that, and we'll see what the venue looks like. I haven't yet decided on the venue, but I'm looking and I'm hoping to secure it by the end of January. And when I do, I'll put out more information about speakers, VIP passes, vending, and all that great stuff.
Sweet, super excited to get a little bit more information on that because I'm definitely going to this one
Yes.
as well. Oh
Yeah.
man, so I mean, thank you. You sent me over some cordyceps, dude,
Yes.
and that was really cool. Cool little gift. Were these grown by yourself?
No, they weren't grown by me, but they were grown by a local cultivator here in Oklahoma. And so
Cool.
I actually don't cultivate mushrooms. So like I've cultivated in the past, but like right now, especially like with me going to Colorado and going to Pennsylvania next week, I really don't have a lot of time to give the care and make sure the quality's there for the mushrooms. And so when I first started in 2020, I was cultivating. I was also going out and foraging and selling that what I could forage. I still do that every season when morels come around, but right now I'm merely transitioning to focusing on selling cultivation supplies like spores, liquid culture, and the grow kits, as well as the gummies. And so those cordyceps that I sent you, I would have sent you my mush love gummies, but that's I actually didn't have them in time. So that's the base that goes into my cordyceps gummies. And so
Okay.
each gummy has 300 milligrams of cordyceps extract. And so once I get those back in stock, I'll shoot you a nice little gift pack and you can try them out.
Well, that's cool. I'm definitely excited about that, man. I just took a couple little squirts performance fungi cordyceps tincture before
Yeah.
the episode started.
Shout out
You know.
Performance Fungi. I mean, Myco Mentor's crushing it. I really appreciate all the work he's done and to help spread the awareness for the benefits of these mushrooms and extracts. It's awesome.
Yeah, and the his product is really good. Like, you can
Yeah, you
feel
can
it
feel,
in
yeah,
like the
absolutely.
squirt of even in just like how concentrated it is, and compared to like some other people. I haven't really taken many extracts, so I don't really know. But I remember just starting back in the day when everybody was starting and all. just going through the beginning text, you can tell the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back like even now at the local farmers market, you'll find people that are doing mushroom tinctures just through the mason jar extraction. And
Yeah.
that's great, but at the scale of making tinctures to sell, to across the nation or to supply a lot of stores, most of the time they're using larger equipment. And I think that sometimes that larger, more controlled equipment can get more of those beneficial compounds. And that's when, when we take a product like that, we can really feel it. And that's what I enjoy the most about taking that specific company's tincture.
Have you got, like stepped foot into any of like the extract world kind of deal? I've noticed that where they get like the sock slit
Yeah.
extractor and they have the closed system
Mhm.
just running for like like 3 days.
Yeah, no,
You're just
it takes forever. And the first time you set it up, you feel like a mad scientist, and then you feel like super high anxiety because you don't want it to break or something to go wrong. But yes, I do have a 1 liter sock slit extractor, and that was what I first started using for all my tinctures and for a lot of that. And so that works great. But for the gummies, it takes a lot of extract because it's 300 milligrams per gummy. So I end up requiring quite a bit for each batch of 2,000 gummies. And so that's when I'll typically work with someone who has a much larger extraction machine and they can do it in a larger run. But for people who are at home or people who are interested in extraction, getting a sock slit is pretty affordable. I think the one I got was like $400. I mean, comparison to how much a stainless steel equipment costs, we're talking thousands upon thousands sometimes. So comparatively, glass is much cheaper, but keep in mind that it does break. And as a beginner, there's sometimes going to be some of those learning curves.
I'm taking that info in myself because that's something I'd like to like just kind of start doing. It seems like it'd be a fun little project, especially with growing gourmets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could just dehydrate them and crank it out.
Hmm. Yeah, and if you already have the space, all it really takes is some time to set it up and to fill the machine. You allow it to get the temperature and it begins to run. And I'm not saying to set it and go to sleep and take a nap, but you can definitely work on some substrate, you can work on some grains, you can work on some things in an adjacent room and peek over and make sure that it's still running. The 8 hour or 10 hour cycle that it did combined, I wasn't in there staring at it the whole time. So now, of course, you want to make sure that you're always keeping an eye on it, making sure that the very first run, you make sure that you understand how it works. And once you get to know your equipment, you can start to rely on it more.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of like back in the day when I was using pressure cookers and
Mhm.
stuff. To run the grain bags had like
Yep.
or had like 4 or 5 941s, and I just set them up making substrate. Didn't
Yep.
necessarily have to like. I was always outside, but they were, I knew the sweet spot, so to
Yep.
speak.
To get the and
Yeah.
keep it going. I love it. And my wife and I always joke about that the pressure canner because my grandmother always growing up, my grandmother always used it for all these different vegetables and meats and canning, and she always had mason jars for jellies. And it wasn't until I started Oklahoma Fungi in 2020 did I start using a pressure canner, and my grandmother was like, "Hey, we have the same, we're using the same thing." Like, yeah, but this one's to grow mushrooms. And so, since then I've used it for other things, but I think it's so cool how, with mushrooms, everyone kind of gets into it for one reason, but then they stay in it because there's so much more to explore.
Yeah, I think I agree. I feel like even the community itself, right? I think a lot of us are into a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
So, like canning, which comes from, you could like a lot of people are into gardening and then they want to, preserve the vegetables or fruits that they grow. So then now they learn how to can. And it's convenient because they bought like 5 of the largest pressure cookers they're ever going to see to cook
Yeah.
straight up grains.
Yeah. I love it.
And
I think
I
it's
have a
so
friend like Adirondack mycology. He kind of he had like a really large gourmet mushroom grow, and then has been doing a lot of like homestead stuff with his wife, and they're like doing the whole thing, and I love to see, some. So people being as like self-sufficient as they can with their food as possible.
Yes. I think that everyone in the mushroom community, we understand that mushrooms get the nutrients and they thrive off of their substrate, off of their, what we give them. And in the same way, like that's what we do. Like the food that we eat, we know that, will we grow some decent mushrooms? Will we be okay? Yeah. But if we give it organic, if we give it really healthy, nutrient dense food, you're gonna do really well. And I think it's the same thing for mushrooms. And it's like know what you're putting in and like there's like shop your local anything. I think that's super important. Like shop local, support your local anything, and ultimately the closer that you get to the source, the better for you, the better for the animals involved, the better for everyone.
I agree, man. Just it, we're all helping each other, you
Yep.
know, rather than just paying some random dude who has plenty of money already.
Yeah, for sure. I love the community, like the mushroom community. Not only do we love to learn, but we also have the motivation to do something about what we're learning, and that is so awesome. And that's so like when I go to these mushroom festivals or even the one that I hosted, like I still get messages from people who are saying that festival changed my life. It was so amazing. Now I'm growing, I get all these pictures of mushrooms, some of them gourmets, some of them I won't talk about, but it's just so cool to see how, all it takes is one event to really get people interested and to really get people to join this community and to want to learn what we're about. And it's so awesome to get to be a part of that, to get to be a host, and also get to be with friends, people like you who's been doing it for much longer.
I feel like it's not necessarily about like the time we're doing it, right?
Mm.
It's about the passion and the effort that we're putting into what we're doing, and that's what's, you know, like with experience. I feel like sometimes I feel like I've been a smaller, like a short amount of time compared to some of the OGs who,
Facts.
blessed me with the knowledge that I was able to use to then, um, learn how to do something. So, you know what I mean? It's like with that plus all the research, I mean, if you're passionate about it, you're passionate about it, and there's no really like arguing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learned more outside of school than I learned. When I was in college, I went to a local community college, and I thought I wanted to be a nurse, but I actually just was really interested in science. And so then I got really interested in business, and so I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I ended up graduating with a degree in diversified studies. And so I think that it's perfect for what I do now because, yeah, I'm interested in mushrooms, and I'm also interested in permaculture. I'm also interested in business and marketing. And so I think that for me, like this isn't that's something I grew up doing. I'm not sure if you grew up foraging or if your family ate mushrooms, but my family
Portobello's.
never went outside for foraging. They never cultivated any mushrooms. They never talked about mushrooms. I was the first oddball in my family, and now everyone is converted.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Slowly but surely, but building an army, little mushroomies.
Yes.
But when you're not doing a whole lot of myco and event stuff, what do you like to do just for fun?
Yeah, so in Oklahoma, it's really flat, so there's not a lot to do. I
I
mean,
feel you, man. Florida's the same way.
Longboarding is pretty great. There's some good spots to go
Nice.
longboarding. I really love Colorado though. It's only about 8 hours away. And so if I get a weekend opportunity to get up to Colorado, I love backpacking. I love going out on like, anywhere from like 10 to 20 mile, like you go hikes round trip. So I love kind of like trekking in, staying for 2 days and coming out or staying for one day, whatever my schedule can wait for. So I love being outside and just being with nature. And I'm not always looking for mushrooms. Sometimes, like when I'm with my wife, she's like, "This is not a mushroom trip. This is a backpacking trip." And so, I'll see mushrooms and I'll take a quick pic, but I won't make like a whole YouTube video about finding mushrooms and all this stuff. So, I try and keep a little bit of the mushroom life separate than the recreation. I try and really enjoy my time outdoors. And I also I enjoy longboarding, skateboarding. I'm not so much good at, but longboarding's still pretty fun. Um, I really love hiking. I love being, if I'm ever in the ocean, like near the ocean, I love swimming as well.
Dude, swimming is the jam.
Yeah.
Big
And
fan.
there was one time I actually was near the ocean and I kept just seeing the tide come in and out and it had all this foam. And it just reminded me of mycelium, the way it's growing constantly. And it just
Yeah, man.
it put me in this like really introspective like thoughts. And I was like, wow, this is so cool to be here, to be a part of everything that's going on. And even when you're not doing mushroom stuff, there's still little things in life that will remind you of mushrooms.
Dude, all the time. I think I now ever since I started, ever since I pretty much got into mycology,
Mhm.
it's like I have slowly become the mushroom man. As far
Yes.
as like people who know me
Yeah, and
or
you're localized like you're the person, and that's like it's so awesome to be that because they trust you and they rely on you and they're like they know that you're trustworthy and that's like the best thing you can be as a friend, as a family member, and like when people need help identifying it, always like it's a little brain boost when you know the mushroom
dude,
it
it's
is. You
so
know what I mean?
awesome, They send you
Yeah.
like they're like that's chlorophyll moldabites.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's I know
It's
that's a
It's your dog should go to the vet.
yeah. It's the vomiter, and everyone's like, wow. And it's just like, it's awesome because not only are you using the knowledge that like you've essentially like been working hard to remember, but you're also like helping other people. And that's the best part for me is like that's why I've been focusing so hard on the education. It's like in Oklahoma specifically, I think we're like 48th in education in the entire United States. So our population, like our IQ is on the lower end of the spectrum. And for that reason, this is why I do a lot of education. And it's common to do mushroom education everywhere. But in Oklahoma specifically, because of our education or lack thereof, sometimes it can be more difficult to break these negative stigmas and to break those barriers that people build up because of fear and mycophobia.
That's fair, man. I feel like fear is a big one.
Mm,
It's a big one for a lot of different things, right?
yeah.
It's like the fear of contamination. I feel like it's uh, I don't know. I've always embraced it. I myself feel like I'm a professional trichoderma farmer.
You have to be. Like, how else do you learn? Like, how else do you? That's the thing I always tell people is like when you start this hobby, think back. Like a lot of people that I teach in my education classes, they grow houseplants or they grow vegetables and tomatoes and stuff outside. And so they always compare it to plants. So like, if I can do all this, can I do this? And it's like, yes, you can definitely do it, but just understand the process is a little different. And you may go outside and pamper your plants and do all these things to your plants and twist them to make sure they get optimal sun and do all these things, but mushrooms don't need that. What they need is certain, hydrated, sterilized substrate, and they need to be in an optimal temperature and to be left alone. And when and when I tell people that, they're like, "What do you mean I don't need to water it every day?" I get customers who ask me, where do I put water? How do I water it?" And
Me
ultimately,
too.
yeah, and and it's not like I'm not knocking anyone who's a beginner.
No.
I know that you aren't either, but it's just that it's a little bit different, and if you can grow plants, you can grow mushrooms, and if you can grow mushrooms, hopefully you can grow plants. But most of the time, in my opinion, when I explain it to people, I just tell people that mushrooms are much more hands off. They just require the right, substrate and temperature. And as long as you're giving them what they like, essentially those two things, like nutrients and optimal temperature, they'll flourish. Whereas plants sometimes need a little bit more, aka sunlight and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
absolutely. I think with mushrooms, it's like you have to be precise.
Mm,
You have to be precise, and you have to be like water. You know,
be water.
uh, you know. Thank you, Bruce Lee, for that quote.
Mm,
Yeah, no, I feel like realistically, it's like 15 to 20 minutes of like holding your breath, unless you have a flow hood. But 15 to 20 minutes of like sterile work, and then
mhm.
you leave it alone,
Yep.
and then you like give it a little light so they're not sleepy if
Yeah.
you want to.
And that's the best. And when I tell people that, everyone's always like, "Are you sure?" What I read on Shroomery or what I read online, and I'm like, I know that you guys have read these things online, and these things
But so
online,
have I.
eh, they they may be from people who are veterans on the Shroomery forum, and that's great. But ultimately, everyone knows there's not only one way to do something. So I'm not saying like when I do my demonstrations, I don't tell people this is the only way. I say this is the way I do it. And if you decide to change from how I'm doing it, that's okay. But if you reach out to me and ask, what went wrong, I hope that you remember what you did. So that way we try and get to the bottom of try and get some of those variables figured out.
Yeah, man. I kind of tell people the same way. It's just a different little metaphor I use. Just I guess there's many ways to skin a cat.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know, and I think with a lot of this information, a lot of people should also understand that they don't necessarily take all of it to heart,
Hmm.
uh, because it's also environmental. Super important to realize that like this person who's telling you this may live in like the opposite side of the country.
Yeah, or the other side of the world. I mean,
Yeah.
I've met people on Instagram who live in Asia, who live in Costa Rica, who live in South America, and they're fighting off conditions where it's overly humid in their house, and they're having to buy dehumidifiers because the area that they live is so humid in the summers, and so it's so interesting to, meet people who live from other places who they do have to kind of change a little bit of variables in their growing conditions to make it optimal for them. And that's what you and we encourage people to figure out what's best for them. And I think that that's what's important.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I think like we all have extremely, I guess valuable knowledge to share.
Hmm.
However, use this with a grain of salt, so to speak, right? Use this as a
Yeah.
starting point of your, adventure into this because we've spent a lot of the time doing the exact same thing. I think we've all read the Shroomery articles. I feel like I could probably recite all of them like word for word like a Bible.
Yeah. How about some good old PF tech? I mean,
You know,
dude, could you imagine if we would have just gone straight from grain to bulk substrate? Like doing PF tech with my brother back in the day, like, oh my gosh, the headache. I mean, I can't believe that I meet people who are still doing that. And if anyone who's listening is still doing that, I hope it's only for research and not to grow a lot of mushrooms because there's better ways, more reliable ways to do that. And I think that that's really one of my biggest goals with Oklahoma Fungi is to make sure that anyone who really wants to grow mushrooms is doing it in the most efficient, accessible way. And if you're trying to grow research varieties, PF Tech is not the go-to.
dude, I will say there's a guy. He's an OG in my opinion.
Hmm.
Awesome person, Professor BRF.
Hmm.
That man is one of the only people I've seen to throw down flushes with BRF
Yeah,
cakes.
dude,
Uh,
send me those. I would love to learn more about it. And I'm not trying to hate on it, but it's just like when I was a beginner and I was trying to figure it out, it would have been so much easier to start with just sterilizing my grain than to putting everything together. So
oh
to hear
yeah,
that
totally.
to hear that people are making it work and like doing solid work is awesome. And it really doesn't surprise me. So that you definitely have to send me that after.
For sure, for sure. I think I might have to send you a different account. We'll have to see if he's still active on Instagram, but I
Okay.
definitely got you for sure.
Word. Yeah, I've
Um,
actually in the past 3 years of doing education and stuff, I've only met one person who's still growing in aquarium tanks with humidifiers and PF Tech. And yes, so of every
oh man, he did it in a different way. He had it like bunch of like the little tiny whatever, tiny the pint jars,
yep.
and he would roll them all up in like a tray.
Hmm.
And it would have like probably like 30 of them or 40 of them, and then you would see the mycelium like starting to grow and like bridge in between the cakes,
Wow,
and it
that's so
would turn
sweet.
into like one basically monotub,
Yeah,
arguably. and dude would just throw down. I love seeing his grows. It was so
So
cool.
yes, that is super unique. Like that to put them together and that sounds really cool. And like the guy that the grower that I know here in Oklahoma that was doing that, they're still doing it like the shroomery, like with a little bit of aluminum foil, rolling it in the vermiculite, setting it the humidifier and you know, that's what they want to do and that's how they love to grow. And I tell them, "Hey, you do you." And you know, it's anyone listening, you do you. There's no right way to do it except for the way you want to do it.
Absolutely, man. I actually mentioned this in the episode with Mycotrophic, where like I was like, back in my day, I would use fish tank bubblers for fresh air exchange, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I even had myself. I remember going through the days of just trying to make that monotub like the perfect
Mhm.
condition thing, thinking about fans and thinking about
Oh
this
yeah.
and that, and um,
Misting and how often should I fan? How often should I miss? Am I doing it correctly? How about lighting? Is airflow? Are the holes too high? Are they
if
too low?
only. If only we just knew that it was all about just like doing this.
Yep. Exactly. And that's what it's almost comical how mushrooms, they're like, dude, just give me what I need and leave me alone.
Yeah, right? It's like, just kind of like, what's up, dude? I'd like some comfortable conditions and a
Yep.
little bit of TLC. If you give me a little more TLC, I will also show you a lot of TLC back. We
Yes.
got to reciprocate each other's TLC.
Yes. And I think it's so cool and I think it's a great way like I have a friend who's all his name is also Jacob. He always tells me like he like thinks about mycelium as like a way like as like a way for society to interact, right? So, you know, everyone's always talking about bartering and helping each other, but it's like about really locking in relationships and how can I best help you and how can we both, you know, both benefit from helping each other in a non like parasitic way and just really help each other flourish.
Absolutely, man. I think, yeah, it's like it's exactly in a non-parasitic way. I like the way you said that, right? Because you were thinking of like mycorrhizal like
Mhm.
subspecies and stuff like that, how they work together with shrubbery or roots of trees to create truffles or
Ooh,
chanterelles and stuff. It's like the goods. You know what I
speaking
mean?
of truffles, if you go to my Instagram after this, I just went to a local restaurant in Oklahoma City. Shout out the Jones Assembly. They had a four entree option at a truffle menu. So they're importing fresh Italian truffles from Piedmont, Italy, the white Alba truffles and the black truffles. And I just had those last night. And dude, shout out mycorrhizal
Sheesh.
relationships, shout out Truffles, and shout out William Padilla Brown for also being on that truffle wave, leading it really.
Dude, what did you get, if you don't mind me asking?
Dude, so we actually we celebrated my brother's birthday, so I went out with my wife, my brother, and his girlfriend, and so there was
Happy
four.
birthday.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And there's four options on the menu, and we each got one of them. And so there was a white truffle pizza, there was a white truffle pasta, there was a New York strip with crab and black truffle risotto,
Let's
which was
go.
crazy. And then last but not least, there was a black truffle and Parmesan Reggiano fondue. So that
Damn, dude.
yeah, I mean it was a prime it was prime time. I mean I really I don't go out too often and eat like mushrooms at other places because in Oklahoma City that we're just not our cuisine like is just not on that level yet. And so when there are restaurants that do truffle menus or like there's been one that did a special morel course. I always try and go and highlight them and talk about them on Instagram and make a little use, especially in Oklahoma, I'll do.
I feel that, man. And yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid of the gourmet side of mushrooms, or they see them as white button mushrooms, right? It's very, um, what are mushrooms to a lot of people? White button mushrooms. The ones that are in salads, basically baby portobellos.
Yes.
And I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not even gonna
Awesome.
lie.
bottom barrel, dude. Button mushrooms, and I don't, and I'm just speaking my opinion on that.
Same.
Button mushrooms are bottom barrel. If you love button mushrooms, you're gonna love every other mushroom there is, because button mushroom. And I don't get me wrong, I still eat them. My wife's mom prepares them
Yes.
steak and this gravy, and it just tastes so good.
You can
But the main,
saute them up a little
yeah,
bit. You can
cut them
do it.
real
You can work with it.
slice them really fine so they don't taste rubbery, cook that water out, you know what I mean? And there's really good ways to prepare those mushrooms. But when it comes to like my choice of mushrooms, I'm always gonna go for the oysters, for the lion's mane, and then if there's like some wild forage, chicken of the woods, morel mushrooms,
Yo, you already all
go crazy.
day.
Yeah, go crazy.
Have you ever had beefsteak mushroom before?
I have not been blessed with the opportunity.
Dude, same.
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, I always see Uncle Fungus. He's always posting his little videos.
I actually, the coral tooth fungus is the most recent edible mushroom that I've found that I haven't tried before. And it was a mushroom that, it's a cousin to lion's mane. It's very similar to
Mm-hmm.
lion's mane, but it just looks a little bit different. And
Almost looks like stringy, right?
yeah, it looks like more stringy and not as beard-like. And
Yeah.
so, it looks very similar, grows in the same places, but I had a friend tell me at a mushroom festival that he actually preferred, I think his name, Graham, yeah, Chef Graham. He actually told me that I think he prefers coral tooth over lion's mane. And so,
Really?
yeah, and so that was really got me interested in trying these mushrooms because not a lot of people are cultivating coral tooth. A lot of people
No.
are cultivating lion's mane though, and so, when I had the opportunity to try it, I couldn't tell that much of a difference, but I'm also not like a professional chef like he is, so I'm sure
Yeah.
there's flavor notes and stuff like that that he was finding that he was enjoying. Yes,
It reminds me of, have you ever seen the video of like the guy, he's a professional ice cream taster, and he has
yeah,
this like, 24 karat gold spoon. He's like, cream, heavy cream,
yeah.
vanilla extracts.
Dude, and he's like writing it down. He's like,
Yes.
I love that, and that's exactly it.
I feel it, man. I don't have like the chef's palate, I would say, right? I think my palate isn't bad and I definitely know my flavors well.
Mm-hmm.
However, when it comes to even like the chanterelles, I've heard a lot of people say it's like the apricot flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And when I eat it, it just kind of tastes like I guess I've only really sauteed them.
Mm-hmm.
But it just tastes like a milder mushroom.
Yeah, I would say for me personally, the chanterelles have a really like fragrant aroma, and that's like they smell really good, like
Yeah,
especially.
they do.
And so, sometimes like the way that we cook them, we don't really like accentuate the flavor. It kind of evaporates and goes away. But like one way that I recently like, if you've ever had candy caps, have you heard of those?
The like little bottle caps that were like sugar.
Yeah, and they're called,
Yeah.
that's a mushroom called candy caps.
Oh no, no, no! I thought you were talking about the candy that was like little bottle
Yeah,
caps.
well, they're a super sweet mushroom that when you dry them out, you can make a syrup from this. There's like a essential syrup from these mushrooms, and it tastes delicious. And so, there's like certain mushrooms like those that, you can't always get the flavor like when you saute them, but there's other things that you can do. And like especially like black trumpets. Dude, that last year was my first time ever having those and being able to forge those in Pennsylvania at Myco Fest and then drying them out in the dashboard of my car. Every
Baller.
every time I got in the car, it smelled like funky cheese. And it was the
Yes.
coolest thing ever. I was loving it. And, shout out Alan Rockefeller for, kind of putting all the mushrooms on the dash and telling everyone else to do that. I appreciate that tip because doing that made the whole car smell like fragrant black trumpets. And it was so epic to take them home and then cook them into a pasta.
Dude, that when you were talking about the sweet part,
Mm,
Drew from Uncle Fungus actually mentioned that he was like, "Yeah, dude, try to make a jam out of it."
yes.
And I was like, "Oh, really? I didn't even think about, I've never thought about mushrooms being in a dessert."
Oh, dude, then let me tell you, I went to his private foray before Myco Fest, and shout out
Oh,
Fungus. Dude, we went out there with Chef Glow and an Uncle Fungus and foraged for like 3 hours, collected all these delicious edibles, and then went home and Chef put them all together. He did candied chanterelles with vanilla ice cream. And so if you go back to Uncle Fungus's page, there's a video of them candying like this massive pan of chanterelles and then serving them on this ice cream. And dude, I'm telling you, I've never had a better mushroom dessert. And I've had a few, like I've had black truffle ice cream, I've had this, and I honestly, this tops all of them.
that sounds so delicious, man. That's what
Yes,
I instantly thought. I was like, all right, Candium. See how that goes.
yes, do it. And let me know, tag me in a video when you do it.
Yeah, man, it's a little cold right now, so I'd say it'll start coming back in probably a month or two.
For sure.
Um, right now it's like winter in Florida, freezing cold at 50 degrees.
Yeah, it's been, Oklahoma's gotten pretty cold. It gets typically a lot colder when February comes, but I'm definitely, excited for morel season as soon as it gets March. This past year, the first morel was sighted on March 8th. So it's getting closer and closer, and I'm getting more excited.
Speaking of, closer like upcoming dates, you trying to go to any other myco events or festivals
Yeah.
this year?
Yeah, there's actually one in Florida called Florida Groves, and this is a music festival. There's also cannabis convention, skateboarding, glass art, and there's going to be tattoos
Sick.
as well. And I'm actually working on coordinating with the team a mushroom section so we can have a little shroom street presented by Oklahoma Fungi and can have a lot of these local vendors, a lot of other national vendors come in, represent mushrooms, talk about mushrooms, sell all of their equipment, all of their goodies, all their grow kits, all their spores, and really help inoculate Florida.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. I'm in Florida and I didn't even hear about that until we were talking about it previously. Uh, that's a cool little festival. That's something I'd definitely be interested in going to.
Yeah,
And
I'll be posting more about it. Next week we're going to be solidifying some of the last details, and you'll be the first to know. And I'll reach out to everyone else. I'll start posting about it because I would love to. I've never been to Florida, so it'd be so cool to come and hang out with you, especially go to a music festival, vendor festival, all this great stuff. So, and meet anyone who's listening to this as well.
yeah, totally. Whoever's listening, and if you're not listening, you should be listening
Yes.
because this is going to be a banger of an event, guaranteed.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're super excited. And I can't wait to like do more things collaborating with out of state. Oklahoma has been great and I've done a lot of fun events here and I still plan on doing the Mushroom Festival. But this year I really plan on getting out a lot more. And so, coming to visit Florida next week, I'll be going to Pennsylvania. In February, I'll be going to San Diego for Entheogen Expo. Shout out Agra Boy and all those folks and Miss MS Labs. She's putting together some amazing stuff. And, yeah, I can't wait to just be more involved with the bigger community and get outside of Oklahoma more.
I think you're doing a great job at it, man. That's you set your standard in Oklahoma, so to speak, right? And you set your home HQ in Oklahoma, and now it's cool being able to go out to the other events and seeing what other people are doing. And I personally, that's something I plan on doing as well more. I think throughout the years, I didn't really go to a lot of those events
Hmm.
as it was up and coming, merely just because working on Funk Straight and
Yeah.
trying to live life as
You're trying
well.
to you got to build, I mean, a lot of the reason for me going to these festivals was to learn, and I'm very much a in person. I need to learn in person. I need to do things with my hands, and so, going to festivals, whether they're in Florida, whether in Oklahoma or Pennsylvania, sometimes, the YouTube videos are great, but all it takes is that one time of putting your hands in the soil and really doing that work that it really sparks that fire to really keep you going.
Yeah, dude, and I feel like it also kind of shows that it doesn't have to be. rocket science, right?
Mhm.
I think it's perceived as like this thing where you have to, wear like nuclear grade suits and
Mhm.
like radioactive space gloves to, not
Yes.
get contamination. And you could even see in a lot of my work, usually I'm just like barefoot wearing my like slides that I make substrate in.
Yeah. And
And
that's like when I first started, I mean, I was cleaning my mason jars sparkling clean in between every run. And then one of my friends was like, "Why are you cleaning those just to re-sterilize them?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I just realized how much time I had been wasting cleaning just for to re-sterilize. And there were some jars, like of course, if your jar gets contamination, you probably want to clean that. But
yeah,
if your jars are super healthy and clean, I stopped cleaning those. Like in 2020 is when I stopped cleaning my mason jars in between runs, as long as they didn't have contamination. And so, since then I've saved a lot of time. I've increased my sterilization, my length a little bit more just to ensure nothing goes wrong. But other than that, there's so many tips and tricks for everyone to learn, and I think that podcasts like this help to share those insights to help people get started and be much further ahead in the amount of time that we've spent. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's one thing that was told to me, and one thing that I always try and tell other people is that we're all trying to help each other get further.
yeah, man, trying to get further. And also, though, um, I feel like there's a big part of this is to remember that we're all humans, right?
Hmm.
And I think, this podcast is I want to bring a lot of these people and highlight the fact that we are all, stressing about paying our phone bill, so to speak,
Hmm.
right? And we're all humans. We all do like some like art or, it's just we all have the same hobbies. And it's getting to know, a lot of people like yourself and many others on a personal level.
Hmm.
Um, where on a more personal level where like some people may not have the ability to I guess speak like or have I guess speak like for an hour, talk to people, or I see it as like we're already friends, so it's much easier to
Yeah.
do rather than like somebody who's just starting fresh and is like, oh my god, this account has this many followers.
Hmm. Yeah, and at the end of the day, like there's a human behind the account, no matter how many followers, no matter how little followers, no matter how much interaction or how little
Yeah.
interaction, like there's a human on the other side, and everyone deserves respect. And when you show respect, you deserve respect. And so like, in the past, and I'm sure you've seen it, there's always gonna be hate. There's always gonna be the haters. But the
Yeah.
majority of the time, there is a lot more love. And it can be hard to focus on the love and not the hate, but that's it's part of it. When you're making waves, that's what's gonna happen.
It's like if you're making waves, you're making noise. I
Mm,
guess if you have haters, it means you're doing something, right? Uh,
yeah,
and everything that I've seen that comes from you is just pure education and love, and
thank you.
you're here to grow the community in a positive way. Totally here
Yes,
for it, man. Um,
absolutely. And that's the reason for such a cute logo. You
you
know,
know,
when
it's
people,
it's so nice. It is. It's cute. It's just like you see that and you can't help but smile, right?
yeah, and it's like for people who like when you and I see it, we're like, yeah, that looks cool. But when people who don't eat mushrooms or forage mushrooms, when they see it, they don't think about psychedelic mushrooms. They don't think about deadly mushrooms. They think about this cute little mushroom that has a peace sign. And so I think that in the logo, majority of the time, it helps to like separate people from those negative stigmas. And that's why when I worked with the graphic designer on making it, I wanted it to be super friendly, super happy, and make people think of that rather than any other prior beliefs they had towards mushrooms.
That's a cool idea, man. It's like arguably like a warm hello
Mm,
of a fresh palate. It's like
yes.
let me. let me rewire your thought process on mushrooms.
Yes, and I mean, I'm sure like you're the same when you first told people you were getting into mushrooms, or now you have Feng Straight, you're doing this company, and people are looking at you like, you do what with mushrooms?
Yeah.
And
I feel like with me, it's like I tell people I sell cultivation supplies and people instantly go to, you know what I mean? They don't even, they're just like mushrooms. It's like cultivate mushroom cultivation supplies, and then they only hear mushrooms, and then it's like,
yeah,
what kind of mushrooms? I'm like, hold up.
yeah,
I sell the supplies people use to grow mycelium and a substrate that is pasteurized,
which whatever kind of
not
mycelium
soil.
they want to grow.
Yeah, it's like I've grown oysters on it before.
Yeah,
One could say they tasted like shit.
but
But oysters will grow damn near on anything.
facts.
Freaking hey, you give them something to grow on, they'll just be like, all right, don't mind if I do pop out like a couple of like
Yeah, they're like, oh, bet this rock. It's like reminds me of like some of like Lophophora and like Astrophytum cacti. Like they just don't care. They're like, oh, this like solid limestone rock where nothing else can grow in the world. Bet.
let me grow in there. Let me grow in that crack. All
Yeah.
that like that little teaspoon of like soil that's been in there for 800 years. It's all I need for another 800.
Yep. I love it. And man, it's been so cool to like get into mushrooms and to like also get into insects and get into plants. Like I've always been an outdoor enthusiast. I've always been outside. But I wasn't like actually looking at like the plants and looking at the mushrooms and like being in New Mexico. I went to Southwest Funga Fest and I spent some time at like around 8,000 feet in like the northern part of New Mexico foraging at that event. And it was incredible to see these interactions between these beetles that eat and live and lay their eggs inside of these polypores, and to like see these polypores at all different stages. And like it was like learning about science and natural life science, like but in real life, all in one go. And it was such an eye-opening experience for me that it's inspired me to want to learn more about insects, to want to learn more about plants and how everything's interacting. And you might not be interested in plants now. Like before 2020, growing plants really wasn't my thing. But and it's still I don't grow any
Damn.
plants. I don't grow any plants still, but I will say I know a lot more trees. I know a lot more plants now than I did at the beginning of 2023. So now when I go foraging, I can say, "Oh, that's an elm tree. I need to go over there. Oh, that's a
The
hardwood."
birch tree.
Exactly. And I've started to learn more about these other kingdoms of life through fungi, and it's so cool. I never thought I would be doing that.
Dude, I feel the same way. Going out foraging, it's like naturally you're also going to find your local native plants as well.
Mhm.
So then, who knows? You find, say, like a chicken of the woods, and
Mhm.
then you get some like natural arugula, or,
Yes.
find like a rogue basil plant growing
Mhm.
in aisle 34 of Walmart.
Dude, I'm telling you, in morel season, and we also have these native like green onions, and so we go out foraging for morels, and you also get these onions, and then you just come home and add a little bit of garlic,
Like
and it just
ramps kind of deal.
yeah, yeah.
Dude, ramps are so good.
Dude, and it's so fun to go out there and it's like I could have been doing this my whole life. My family doesn't even know how to do this. And I've been like teaching my family now slowly, hey, like we can go out and do this together and find these mushrooms and find these plants and eat them. And it's awesome to build those memories together. It's awesome to build the confidence in yourself and identification, learning something new, especially when it's plants. Like they're all green. So to me, they're difficult.
Yeah, especially if you're colorblind.
Facts.
Just gotta go in with the taste test.
Yeah.
My buddy Jaron of Adirondack Mycology sent me over a bunch of like dehydrated ramps, like one mason jar of
Mhm.
dehydrated ramps and another mason jar of dehydrated ramp salt.
Okay.
I put that shit on everything, like Frank's Red
Yeah.
Hot.
Dude,
Dude,
that sounds so good. That sounds so good.
That's it, man. Do you like do you like cooking? Do you like throwing down in the kitchen?
Yeah, I do. I like to take like a lot of the wild forage mushrooms, like the those black trumpets and stuff. We'll do in a nice Alfredo pasta, garnish with some, like some
I'm coming over for dinner.
dude, I'm telling you, when I come to Florida later this year in April, we'll have to put together something. We'll try and get some mushrooms from Fungi John, get some, get some good stuff going, and we'll do a little video together cooking.
Dude, hopefully the chanterelles are back in season. I've found two spots locally.
Yeah,
Maybe get a little harvest in, come on over. You could throw down in the kitchen, have a nice meal,
that'd be epic. Little smoke sesh after.
you know, before and after.
Before, during, after. I love it.
A continual smoke sesh.
Yes. Love it, man. Yeah, it's been awesome. I love chatting with you and learning more about like what you're interested in and getting to hear about like how, you're also that beacon of light for your community, like your family, your friends, people are using you as their resource and also like all the followers that you've built over your time on your page. It's awesome to get to just collab and get to talk with people like you and get to learn.
I feel the same way about you as well, my friend. I think like we said in the beginning, we're doing this with passion, right? And
Hmm.
the following that's coming from that is all through that passion, and it's only them, right? It's at the end of the day, we're just people doing a thing, and luckily people enjoy what we're doing, uh, and I want to say that's because we're doing it just naturally as ourselves. And yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast as well. It's this has been a super great conversation. It's just been flowing nice, man.
Yes, super easy. And that's like when you first reached out to me and you said that, when you first actually said that you were going to do a podcast, a Funk Trade podcast, I was like, that sounds so cool. I hope he reaches out. And then you reached out pretty shortly after, and I was super grateful. Still am very grateful to be on here within the first 10 episodes. Love it. Thank you so much for the honor.
Of course, and I'm honored for you to be on one of the first 10 episodes. And yeah, gosh, I'd say that's a solid little podcast, and I'd say maybe we could wrap it up from here.
Yeah, if
Um,
anyone's interested, you can check out my website, Oklahoma.
yeah, I was gonna ask if you had anything, sorry to interrupt, if you had anything to mention or your like future plans and website. We're gonna do all that stuff. I'm gonna put it on the description below the video. And yeah, I guess I'll let you close it out, bud.
Awesome. Yeah, so later this year, look out for the second annual Oklahoma Mushroom Festival. You can follow that page at OK Mushroom Festival on Instagram. On my personal for Oklahoma Fungi, it's just at Oklahoma Fungi on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X.com, Reddit, all the social media apps. Everything is Oklahoma Fungi. Just look for that cute little logo. Hopefully it's not a scammer and it's me. As long as it has pictures of me and you see that there's quite a bit of followers and I'm interacting, it's the right account. And you can also visit the website oklahomafungi.com. I have all my latest events, all my mushroom cultivation products, all my mush love gummies. And if you're interested in growing our native cubensis, I have our native spores. So 2 years ago, I was out foraging. I even made a YouTube video on it, collecting some spores. There you go. Love it.
Look at how thick it is. That's
Yes.
a spore syringe. The DEA just said that they're federally legal.
Right? DEA just said, yeah, they just came out with that, and it was super nice to actually like see them put some clarity into the scene. And so for anyone who's interested in researching those spores, reach out to me and I'll get you all set up.
So man, for microscopy research only, of course.
You got it. You got it. Get your microscopes out.
Always, always, always keep mine handy. Um, with that being said, thank you so much for being on the podcast again, buddy. And all the stuff is going to be in the link below the description, so you can check out his website, purchase some merch, some sweet shirts,
Mhm.
and microscopy research.
That's right. Much love, bro. Thank you again for the opportunity. Can't wait to chat soon about this event in April and later in October for this special second annual Oklahoma Mushroom Festival. I'll see you later, bro. Much love.
Later, bud. Much love.